It's really a great honor to have been invited to. Thank you to Lewis and all the folks that have been putting it together. TEDx is such a wonderful idea, so I'm really honored to be able to do my second TEDx. This is a great honor, and this time I'm going to talk about one of the ideas that I've kind of developed over the last 23 months, almost 24, and it's the idea of a framily. So before I get started, I'm going to tell you a little bit about myself. I'm a victim, I'm a survivor, but I'm a part of the Framily. And what that means is that instead of talking about what happened on the 8th of January, which all of you I'm sure have heard of countless times, I'm instead going to talk about what happened after and how a group of us who were there started coming together in this really strange way. I think the first thing that I need to talk about is the word Framily. So it sounds like family, but it has an extra R. It is the combination of the words family and friends. The reason that we combine these words is because we are no longer just friends. We're no longer acquaintances. We're closer really than any of those two groups could ever be. While we may not be related by blood, we're really joined at the soul. And that's one of the ideas that I think we really started to think about as the folks that were there kind of moved a little bit past the 8th. So before I give you too much more about our family, I'm going to give you a little bit of background on who we are. So we're a really eclectic group. I like to call us the island of misfit toys. There's really no reason that this group of people should ever really get along or even interact with each other. We are retired colonels, members of Congress, we are air conditioning technicians, college students, nurses, doctors, everything you can think of, we're somehow involved in that group or that trade. We're a really kind of random group of people, but we've become a group that's been joined by this tragedy. When we think about January the 8th, we think obviously of the loss of the 6 lives, but the 13 other people who were injured. Mary Reed, who is one of those folks, is here with us tonight. And when we talk about that, we know that the physical wounds heal a lot faster than the emotional wounds, and the trauma that we all experience, I think, developed in a few different stages. It didn't all happen at once, and we all didn't have it happen at the exact same speed. We all had our own development and our own healing. But as our healing commenced, I think we all started realizing that we were all really combined by this one event. So the first stage, I think, for a lot of us was a lot of sadness and really a lot of confusion. Some of us thought, what did we do to deserve this? What great evil did we do that is now causing us to have this retribution? Who did we piss off, essentially? What have we done to deserve this traumatic experience where we lost 6 people and had 13 others injured? And then that kind of started to evolve, and it took a few days, a few weeks, a few months, but that kind of led to the next thing, and it rolled into what I think was the most unhealthy phase, which was anger. First, a lot of us felt angry at ourselves. Survivor's guilt for a lot of us was something that we had to deal with. To wonder, why am I the one who was able to survive when someone like a Christina Taylor Greene, who was 9 years old and was really had the entire world ahead of her. But when we got angry at ourselves, I think we then started redirecting that rage and that anger to somebody else, someone who we'd never had a conversation with, someone that we didn't really all that much know, a young man named Jared Loeffner. We had no interactions with him other than half a second when he was pointing a gun at most of us. This anger really became something that was like a bitterness. It was a cancer. Like Maya Angelou says, a bitterness is a cancer that only eats yourself. And it was something that really fed off of itself. And this period was one that was longer for me and longer for a lot of other folks. You stay angry. First you were angry with yourself, then you were angry with him. You wanted to hurt someone. You wanted to take the pain that you had felt and that anger and redirect it towards him because he deserved to be punished in some kind of way. And it was during this time that I think I started to realize something that was so important, and I think a lot of us did. And there's, in the New Testament, a quote that says, it's about making sure that we see no greater evil and we don't repeat that evil. So we should not be the folks that take something tragic like this and from that tragedy try and make it worse. You know, that quote of an eye for an eye makes the whole world go blind is something that, while it sounds hackneyed and repeated way too often, doesn't really hit you when you're suffering through this kind of trauma. You know, something simple like that, you have that aha moment of, really, what would I be able to achieve if I were able to act on this rage and act on this anger? So that again was a time where I think we all started getting a little bit more connected to each other. You know, rage and anger is a really lonely place for a lot of folks. And it's on the edge of this anger and on the edge of this turmoil with yourself and with the world that we all started kind of realizing that we weren't alone. The other folks that had been there had been going through the same kind of ordeal. They were also trying to figure out why this had happened and why this young man had done what he had done, but why we couldn't take out our anger. And I think that's when we started connecting more. I think at the beginning, we thought, you know, I might by myself, even though I was there with other people. It's not the same. Their experiences were very different than my own. But it was really something that you had this cognitive dissonance of, I went through this, they went through this, but my feelings are completely different and no one else will understand what I'm going through. And yet everyone else in the group was really going through the same kind of turmoil. And that's when we started connecting. We started spending a little bit more time with each other. And when we were spending time with each other, I think that's when we started having the realization that this anger was something that we couldn't really act on. It was something that we needed to work on together. And this is when we really started becoming that family. And when we started becoming more connected with each other and we all started accepting what had happened, a lot of us started forgiving ourselves for feeling that angry towards not just him, but towards ourselves. Learning to love yourself again is something that's really difficult, but that old quote of, if you can't love yourself, how are you going to love anyone else? And we all started having this really weird sense of love, and that's why I said we're the island of misfit toys. We have everyone from the age of 22 to late 70s, and we all love each other like a big family. And we started talking about things that we wanted to do now. What next? So we've had this anger, we've started connecting as a family, but what does that mean? And I think for a lot of us that meant the importance of talking about kindness. You know, when we talk about anger, it's something that's very it's a gut reaction. It's something that doesn't require work. It just happens. It's really hard, however, to have random acts of kindness. To have kindness. It's often referred to as something that's random. So that phrase, random acts of kindness, is something that I think is a complete falsehood. You know, kindness is not something that's easy. It doesn't just happen. It takes a lot of work. You need to make sure that you actively think of what you're doing and what you're saying, because that's what kindness is about. It's about actively and consciously thinking about what you're going to be doing to yourself and to other people. And then as we started realizing the importance of kindness, we started realizing that one of the things that we'd been looking for since January the 8th was a purpose and a reason for what had happened to be explained. And that's when I think all of us started finding our purpose. We all found it in our own way. For me, it was getting involved in education like I had been in the past by running and winning a seat here on the Sunnyside School Board. For Ron Barber, who is now a member of Congress, it was starting the Fund for Civility, Respect, and Understanding. For the parents of Christina Taylor Greene, it was starting a foundation in honor of their daughter. But we all found our purpose, but it was all connected to the same idea of kindness and making sure that as we move forward, all of the people in this family talk about our basic tenet, which is the importance of kindness. So in everything that we do, we move forward, but we're not moving on, because to move on would be disrespectful to those that passed away. So as we're moving forward, we're trying to spread this message of kindness. It's not about being a pushover. It's not about being weak. It's about being strong. And we've formed this strong bond as a family through kindness. And as you go forward and enjoy the rest of the speakers tonight, just think about things in a different light. Before you say something, before you do something, just think about what kind of reaction that might get from somebody else. Again, think about kindness as not a random act, but something that you need to work towards. And I'm going to end with that. And again, thank you so much. I've really enjoyed it.